Hello and welcome back to Real People, Real Business. My name is Izu Nwachukwu and this is my podcast. And as you might know on the podcast, we like to bring in entrepreneurs who have been successful in their businesses. We want to tell their stories about their businesses, but we also want to tell about the challenges that they had to go through in order to become successful. And the hope is that their stories will inspire us to go into our own businesses and learn from what they've done to be successful. On today's episode, I have a remarkable gentleman. He's the CEO and co-founder of Ziwo, which is based out here in the UAE. His expertise is in B2B SaaS. He's a mechanical engineer and also an MBA holder. He's worked in France, the UAE, of course, and in Italy. Renaud De Gonfreville, welcome to Real People, Real Business.
Thank you very much for having me, Izu.
Fantastic. Great to have you on board. And, I'm really looking forward to hearing your story because it's a remarkable one when we had the pre-interview. I looked at your profile and I could see that you started your career out as a mechanical engineer, right? You started in the military service in France as a scientist. How did you get into that line of work? What drove you into military service and as a scientist? What was that like?
Well, that's very simple. It's just mandatory to do. It's military. At the time, it was mandatory. It's not anymore. But it's a good first experience. After you go out of college, you need to give back to the country. Okay, to be honest, it was quite long, and I had other plans in mind. But I had to do this, and for me to be in the scientific field was kind of logical. And I really enjoyed it. It was based out of Paris, where my fiancée was, and it gave me the opportunity also to work on some side subjects. At the time, I was very passionate about a new industry coming in. It was in 94, 95, so I was working a lot on 3D modeling.
Okay.
And I was playing with that, and I got access to a very large network of computers, very powerful. So for me, it was a kind of a chance to get access to that. So the job in itself was not very exciting. I was working on government contracts, with large industries. But at the end of the day, I tried to make the most out of this period.
Yeah, fantastic. And you talked about when we first spoke, you talked about how you used those skills to learn things like building a car in engineering and stuff like that. You were a builder, and that's kind of what drove you into working with computing and networks as well. So during that period, did you start to see that, okay, yeah, my drive will be towards software development and building out networks, or did you just kind of fall into that role?
Really, at the time, the software industry was not really developed. I mean, of course, you had the Microsoft, but I was much more into building stuff. I mean, 3D modeling for me was a way to see real stuff shaping and built. So that was the intention. The passion for computer came after, because at the time really it was not very developed. It came much after, and I saw the potential through my career and the moves that I made after. And obviously when I started Ziwo, which is purely software company, I saw all the potential for that, and I like it very much. But early in, whether in college or early days in my career, it was all about manufacturing. So I was working for a large French multinational in the tooling industry. So my day-to-day activity was really to go on the field to visit large car manufacturers or aerospace manufacturers, Airbus in France. I mean, you can't imagine all the industries we had at the time. And I was going on the work floor with the sales team and making tests and building stuff. So I mean, at the time, that was my passion.
Yeah, you were a builder. You were a guy that built things from scratch. No, I totally understand. And so you mentioned that you were working with this large multinational French company, and I think that was Saint-Gobain, and that company brought you to the UAE as the MD. You were the head honcho starting out here. What was that like, coming into a new market in the UAE, coming to a new market in Middle East, and specifically Dubai, to basically set that up and get it running for a manufacturing company?
I would say it was super exciting. If you remember what was Dubai back then, I'm talking about 2004. You had something like 20% of the cranes in the world that were in Dubai. Dubai Marina, one of the many projects, Dubai Marina was the size of Manhattan. When I came, there were something like 2 high-rise and the Hard Rock Cafe in the middle of the sand. Now it's something like 200 high-rise. That was insane. And they were all building at the same time. So you had all these cranes, and the company I was working for was the world #1 in building materials. So you can imagine the type of job they offered me. I mean, we had nothing. I was sent there for setting up the local entity. So it was super exciting. It was completely new. The region is fascinating, but it's also hard when you arrive. You are alone in the country. You have to set up everything from finding the office, hiring the people, reorganizing or organizing the distribution network, logistic platform. So it was, it was like creating a company, but that's what is called intrapreneurship. So basically you have all the pain of the entrepreneur without the upside, but at least you don't play with your money.
Exactly.
So I think at the time, and I did that for 7 years. So I went through the fantastic growth until the financial crisis strike, and I left in 2010. But I mean, that's, I think, what gave me the willingness to create. As I told you, I'm a builder, so I like to build stuff, including companies. I think that's where I got the potential of creating your own business.
So you know, you're working for this large company. They'd given you the responsibility to set them up, and you essentially did that from scratch. You know, you basically created the business here on the ground. You know, coining your term, the intrapreneur. So from within, becoming an entrepreneur, as opposed to, you know, a true entrepreneur who would create with their own money. But you know, you again, just touching on what you had learned working for this company, becoming an entrepreneur, seeing all the moves that you had to make to set up a company. You were a builder, and like most people who are builders or creatives, we tend to focus on our skill set. We tend to focus on, okay, I'm a builder. I build this product and I put it out into the market. Someone else is going to sell it. Someone else is going to market it. You know. But you didn't just stop there. You saw, I think, very early on how you had to move from your builder mindset to, I need to know how to sell. I need to know what the market needs. I need to know what my customers want, and then go back and build for that, right? So, you know, just tell me a little bit about that. What shifted your mind to, I need to be a salesperson as well?
In short, I was forced, because it was not natural at all to become a salesman. But I think there are reasons for that. Again, if I go back in time to my college time, you had these guys going to the business college, to the business schools, and the guys going to the engineering schools. And they were two different worlds. It's not that they are hating each other, but I mean, for some, you are just the BS.
Yeah. The talker, the guy that just sells.
The talker, where sell, you can sell anything to anyone. You get the money and you run. And for the other, you are just the nerds. You know, to go late at night in your labs, do your experiments and so on. But you don't care about what the customer wants, what the market wants. So it probably has changed quite a lot, and particularly because of all the hype in the past years around venture capital and startups and so on. So a lot of young people, they realized that the both worlds had to work together, which is good. But for me, when I was at college, we were just talking about tech, mathematics, physics, and so on and so forth. I don't remember having one business class or something very, very simple, maybe 1 hour or 2 hours in the years, nothing special. But fortunately, I discovered that early in my career, because my first job was technical support for a sales team. So I was confronted every day with the selling problems, and I discovered that there were some limits imposed by the business. The first limit is that you don't make a product until you have a problem to solve. So the first thing is really coming from the market. You have a problem to solve. What, the famous pen point slides you put on your pitch deck for investors. What is the problem that you are solving? And after, once you have that, you just go to how you are going to solve that problem. And I think there is a third slide after that, which is the size of the market, because you might have a lot of problem to solve, but if the market is so tiny, you can't get any financing or so, it's not really worth the effort, unfortunately, for some markets.
Yeah. And I think, just again, I think that's a really, really important point for, people who are thinking about starting a business. Yes, we may have our passions and our creative ideas, but if it's not sellable, if you can't package it and market it, and you touch on three very strong points. One, there's a problem to solve. How are you going to solve the problem? And it's not enough to stop there, right? Especially when you're speaking to an investor, like you said, it is how large is the market? Is it large enough for us to make some revenue from it? And I think you tend to see some entrepreneurs that going with what sometimes is a hobby. And, it's great if we can all make money from our hobbies, but if the market is not going to bite and if you can't scale it over time, then it most likely is going to remain a hobby, right? So let's move on to the next part of your life. You worked for Saint-Gobain for 15 years. You were in the UAE, you had set it up. There was the financial crisis that happened around the world. And then you decided, that you were going to leave the company, and you decided you were going to start on your own, right? What was that journey like? What triggered you to say, okay, I'm going to leave a company who was, I believe they were offering you to come back to France and still give you a job, but with the midst of a financial crisis, you decided, I'm going to step out of this and go it alone, which I feel is like the scariest time to be investing in your own business. There is a financial crisis, for crying out loud. So what triggered you to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go out and do this at this risky time?
Yeah, I didn't live in the midst of the crisis. Okay. I waited 2010 because I'm not completely crazy. And by the way, I have 4 kids, so I can't afford to make stupid moves. Unfortunately, my wife, she's working, and that is what allowed me to take a bit of risk. But I waited 2010 to leave Saint-Gobain. In fact, I had, the midlife crisis concept. So there is a certain age where you realize that one day you are going to die, and the choice you are making at that moment are very crucial for these next 30, 40 years or so. So basically, after 15 years, my company was telling me, okay, you have spent 7 years in the UAE, you have an expat contract, now it's the time to come back. So the job they were proposing was quite interesting, but it would have bring me to 20 years in the same company, and I found it a bit risky. It was I saw the other way around. Spending 20 years in the same company seems a bit long. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. So I said, okay, maybe it's the time to see something different. My wife is working, so I can afford to take this kind of a risk. But and 2010 back in France, it it was still the aftermath of the financial crisis. You know, France, as opposed to emerging markets, the things are much slower. But that's because of, you know, you've got a lot of shock absorbers like tax shock absorber or social. So the crises, they are less hurting to the people, which is good, but they last much longer. In the UAE, if comparatively, or in Asia, when you've got a crisis, the companies, they are laying off massively people. They get back to a good financial situation. But when it goes back again, then they rehire people. So you don't have this shock absorber. It's two different models.
Yes.
There are pros and cons, of course. The emerging one is very violent for the individuals because they have to run away from the country, get back. You know, that's quite sad. I've seen very sad stories in the 2008-2010 period, but at least when the business started to come back, then we could rehire and you had new project. So 2010, I decided to leave. And after 15 years in the same company, I feel the need to go back to college. So I went for an exec MBA at INSEAD. And it was kind of an eye-opening moment for me because you had people from all the horizon, all industries, all culture and nationalities. So that was really interesting, and I like also very much learning new stuff. You know, the academic content at INSEAD is just amazing. The faculty is just amazing. It's really entertaining, and it was for me the time to confront my 15 years experience with the academic stuff. So it was really good, and for managing a company, it's really a good program. You learn. You said that you need to have different skills in a company, and that's really the type of program when you learn enough to understand all the departments of a company. So of course there is a part where you are strong, which is your original field. For me, it was the engineering, but anything about accounting, finance, how you run an innovation program, sales, marketing, strategy. So that was a very good refresher because I learned all these things in the field, but you never know if what you have learned is a good thing, if you've got the right standards. So at least going back to this program, you see a direct link with your professional experience, and you learn what is the good standards, and then you can go back to the operation and do your stuff.
Fantastic. So, you know, you decided, okay, you were going to invest in yourself, right? And go through the INSEAD course to see the other side, which is beyond, you know, the mechanical side, and look a little bit more into the business side. You are a father, your wife is working, you have 4 children, and you're going back to school. Some people will say at that stage in your life, that's madness. Like, you have kids, you should be taking another job and making sure that, you know, you could provide for them. But so, you know, what was that like? What was life like in your house with 4 kids and a wife who's fully supporting you?
It was not business as usual, but you know, in my corporate life, I was traveling quite a lot. So, I mean, my kids, they were used to not seeing me that much. I was working quite a lot. The program at INSEAD, the exec MBA, is not full time, so it's about one week or 2 weeks max every 6 weeks. Part of the course were in the new place at Abu Dhabi, so it was not very far away, and part of the program was in Singapore and Paris. But I think that they never reacted, or I didn't see a change. I didn't see it as a big hit on my family. I don't think it was. Okay. And I think the children, they prefer to see their dads in a good mood and in shape and you know, happy for what he's going to do, and that was the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. If if you're investing in yourself and you're happier, then it reflects on the family. Okay, so you've done the courses, and then you decided you were going to start your own business, Ziwo. I'd like you to tell us a bit more about Ziwo, what Ziwo does, and I'd love to really understand how you started Ziwo up, because I think there's a lot of people that watch this podcast that want to know, okay, how do I start my business? And there's some points you had raised when we spoke earlier, but I'll let you elaborate on that. So I just want to know, what is Ziwo? What do you do? And how did you start it up and get it up and running?
Okay. There's a myth that every business starts with a big idea, and suddenly you've got Unlight, and you've got this vision of the business you are going to do. I don't think it's true for most of the time. For me, it all started in a swimming pool.
Okay, okay, that's interesting.
During my MBA, I had an objective was to network a lot and to meet a lot of people, because it was a part-time program, and I was looking for my next career move. So I wanted to network and to look for opportunities, and part of that networking was meeting with my friends, because sometimes you've got friends but you don't necessarily talk about business. So I wanted to have that. And one day I was at the gym, in the swimming pool of the gym, and my friend is telling me, look, I met this guy, he's a tech genius, he's working on plenty of different projects, software development for different clients. You should just have a chat with him, grab a coffee, and discuss. These two guys, the guy in the swimming pool and the guy I met, are my business partners today.
Fantastic. It's just like that. Sometimes you just need, I keep saying network, meet people that know people, and you never know where it's going to go.
So basically my advice to the young people that want to start a business, go to the swimming pool, go to the gym.
Absolutely.
No, I'm kidding. No, and the discussion, so with this guy I met, he described the project he was working on, and I didn't have any idea of creating a business around that early on. I was just genuinely curious. I was asking questions. I was asking what's the application, what your software is doing. I was fascinated by this guy because he just arrived in the UAE and he had signed already with 3 large clients. So fantastic. I was really curious about it. How did you manage to sign? Because here, when you are not from the region for a long time, it's quite difficult to make your own network. And I discovered his talent technically and also socially. He was able to also explain his products. So after a while, I was thinking, talking again to my other friends. Maybe we can scale up some of the project and industrialize them. So instead of selling to one company, we could sell it to many others, and that's the way you start making money in the software industry, because the development costs quite a lot, but the additional deployment costs almost nothing. And slowly we started to work like this. I was still continuing to look for my next career move, and at the moment I realized, hey, that's my next career move. Instead of looking for a job and working for a company, at least I've got the complete freedom, or almost complete. In the software industry, what is good is that you can generate revenue quite quickly, quite easily, because any company needs development of software at a point. So we did that for a few years, and a few projects that we did. One was for Carrefour. We work on the voice network in the region, and another project was developing a software for a call center for a TV shopping company. And these 2 technical blocks that we developed, they are the base of Ziwo today. So at the point we said, okay, we have developed this and that. They are on-premise solution, because at the time the cloud was not really developed. The e-commerce was really nascent. It was in 2011, 2012, something like that. So it was very new. You didn't have any Microsoft Azure cloud. You didn't have any AWS cloud. So it was very difficult. The infrastructure was not there. The people, they were not ready to move their application to the cloud because they were feeling there are safety issues. I don't like it, and so on. Now it's completely different. Everybody wants to move to the cloud, but at the time it was different. So we said, okay, maybe it's the moment back in 2014 to develop from scratch a new software which is completely cloud-based, running on the local infrastructure for these companies that were working today. And my business partner said, okay, it will take me 6 months. Obviously, it took 2 years.
Wow.
Never believe a tech guy when he's telling you 6 months.
Yeah.
But that's completely normal.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
And then, so we, and this product was Ziwo. And we launched it in 2017, something like that. So we completely pivoted the company around this product. Today we sell only this product. We have dropped all the rest. But if you look at the timeline, it means that we started in 2011, and only in 2017 we had a product with good definition and a much clearer vision.
Yeah.
So 6 years, that's very long. If you have your audience is looking at creating a business, I don't believe at all you can create something which is meaningful and mature in less than 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super complicated.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that with my business partner Eric, we had very complementary, not skills that were fitting.
Yeah.
How do you say?
Kind of clicked
we were
together.
complementing very well.
Yeah.
I was very much on the business side of the things, but because I know how to market and sales technical stuff.
Yeah.
And is the one to develop and to have this product vision.
Yeah.
So we're going along very well together, and that's super important. And also when you go through some rough time, there were some months we couldn't pay completely our salaries. So these are rough time, and you need to have someone you can talk to.
Absolutely.
That's very important. You can't bear all the pressure. Particularly when you have employees and the financial pressure is so high, it's really good to have a partner you can talk to.
Absolutely, and some of the thought leadership points I share out there in terms of people who want to start a small business is don't go it alone. Find a partner who you complement each other. They bring their skills, you bring your skills, because like you said, you can hold each other accountable. When someone is feeling down, the other person says, come on, let's go, and then when they're feeling down, you can encourage, and that's how you keep the business alive. Because, my first business, I started it alone, ran it for about 5 years. I went, and I was doing everything. I was the office boy and the CEO. So I was the salesperson and the graphic designer and the manufacturer and the sourcing manager. And it can burn you out, even if it's your own business. So absolutely, understand where you're coming from with the fact to say find someone you can support each other. Okay, so let's move on to so you've grown Ziwo 7 years, you scaled it, you're very successful now. The business is, you're expanding into the Saudi market, you're expanding into North Africa. How has marketing played a role in terms of growing your business? Because, you seem to understand the concept of marketing, selling, and being out there and pushing the brand there. How has that impacted your business and the growth and scale of your business?
The marketing and sale is what is making the size of your business. Your product is making the reputation and the quality of your business. But really, I mean, it's known now. It's obvious. You hear that all the time. It's not because you've got a superb product that you are going to make a hit. First of all, what is a nice product? What is a good product? Again, it's a product that gives an answer to a pain point. Otherwise, you don't have a product. I think the time where you had engineers working on their backyard on the product, technically very, very brilliant and so on, but not fitting to a market needs. I mean, these times are over. You can't find any VC to invest in your company. What was the question?
So we were just talking about how marketing has helped you scale and grow Ziwo. You know, do you find it as an integral part of your business to be marketing and investing in marketing?
Yeah. So basically, the cycle, like many companies, is that you build your MVP, your minimum viable product, and for this you start with the R&D and the engineers, and then you and that's my advice. You need to go as fast as possible to the market. First of all, your MVP you should involve some potential customers in the early design. As the market, because they are the ones that are going to give you orders and pay for it. So once your MVP is ready, okay, maybe it's not covering 100% of the needs, but at least if you have the 80-20, that's good. You take your first order. So who are going to be the first salespeople? In my opinion, should be the founders, because only the founder get to know well the product well enough to sell it. Yeah. And that's also important for them to sell, so that they get the pushback from the clients, the early clients, and they can go back after to the engineering to modify the stuff. So together with Eric, we pitched something like 500 clients with the early version of the products. That's quite a lot, but I did pitch the product again and again and again. So I saw what were the reaction, what were the features that the people were really interested in, and obviously it's very different from the internal thinking, where we're thinking that feature it's going to be a killer. Reality, not at all. And the things that you found quite simple, the people were very excited about it. Yeah. So go to the market as early as possible, because the truth is in the market. Yes. The customer is going to tell you what he needs. Yes. Unfortunately, for some market, he doesn't know how to express it, or he doesn't know yet. So you have to anticipate that. Yeah. But really, the truth is in the contract you are going to sign.
Fantastic. Great. Fantastic.
But after, because your initial question was how the marketing help you. Yeah. I think when you have passed the MVP and you have your product, so after the MVP you start selling, you sign your first 10, 30 clients, then you have to come back for the V2, the version 2 of your product. Yeah. And this one is going to be supported by marketing, because this one is the sellable product on which you are going to prove your product market fit. That's the one that will go beyond your 30 clients and bring you to, I don't know, 200 clients maybe. So that's where you need to raise a Series A to accelerate. And with this Series A funding, you are going to hire your marketing and first salespeople. Yeah. So that's the way you accelerate. But the danger is, and particularly when the money was easy to find, you had too much money, and the people they tend to accelerate the process before being ready, and that's a bit dangerous, because then you waste your money. Yeah. You say, okay, I've got the product market fit. Let's launch in all the countries. I will hire 100 salespeople, VP of sales, and so on and so forth. But until you have reached a good product market fit, it's dangerous to do that. Yeah. The risk is just to waste all your funding.
Yeah. So your model is essentially get the beta out into a market, into a small scale, test it out, get sales, proof of concept, proof that my audience wants this product. It takes feedback, and you potentially use it as research to see, okay, we got to throw this out because people are not responding to it. People are asking for this, so we put it in, and then you go to the V2, and with the V2, then you can scale a little bit more with marketing and push it more, which makes perfect sense.
And I would advise the founder to get involved in the selling process. Yeah. I mean, if you remember my early days, I was proposed a sales position at Saint-Gobain. My first reaction was, "What? I'm an engineering.
I'm not a sales guy.
I'm not a sales guy." So I refused. And unfortunately, this sales director really insisted. And I did some sales, pure sales, for 2 years in that company. And it's really a life experience, because now everything is selling. I'm selling myself, I'm selling my company, I'm selling to customers, I'm selling the company to hire people, to get investors. So life is about selling, but selling is not a dirty thing. I'm telling that to all the engineers in your audience. Selling is not necessarily signing a contract, get the money and run with it. Selling is about convincing someone that what you have on offer is good for you. That's the way we're doing things. I'm telling to my sales team, don't sell. You are kind of consultant. You need to advise your client what's good for them. And look for the pain point. Look for the problem that they've got, because if they don't have a problem, you will not get a sale. The sale is just a consequence of you helping your clients to find what is best for them. That's the way I see it.
Absolutely. Fantastic. No, I agree. Even I've gone through the same journey where I'm creative by nature, but I had to learn the hard way that you've got to sell, but you've got to sell with style. If you ask me, like you said, be a consultant, understand their problems, and then come back, listen, come back with a solution. Thank you for that, Renaud. Thank you so much. So we're coming towards the end of the episode, and this section is where you share your wisdom. So I have 3 questions for you. And love to hear your take on these questions. So the first one is what's the most surprising fact that you've learned about yourself throughout your entire journey to where you are now? What is the one thing that surprised you that you've learned on this journey?
That's exactly this experience I was talking about. Me being offered the job in sales, I refused because, at this time, engineers, salespeople, not matching together. So I refused. I took the experience for 2 years, early mornings, driving, going, visiting customers, explaining pros and cons of the product, signing contracts, and so on. And in fact, I really enjoyed that. It was probably the most useful experience I ever had in my career, and today I really enjoy that, because again, for me, selling is just helping someone to do the things better, and I really deeply convinced that my product can help a lot of business. So obviously I enjoy selling it, because I know they will be happy about the product. Maybe they will not like the price and the payment conditions, but these are minor details. But at the end of the day, it will give them a good advantage. They will have higher productivity, or they will move to the cloud, so it will be better for their own organization, and so on and so forth. So, I discovered the selling was not a bad word.
Yes.
And it's really enjoyable. I mean, signing a contract with a large organization is really, it's a marathon sometime, but when it's done and you have to start the delivery, it's really a very nice moment. We celebrate that in the company. Obviously, there are some commissions on sales, so it's really a nice moment for the team.
Yeah, it's those winning moments where you get from putting all the time and effort in. It's really rewarding. So the second question is, what do you consider to be successful, specifically to yourself?
Success. Certainly not the money. I mean, you guys, if you want to start up a business because of the money, it's not the way to do. I can't give you any advice. If you want to make fast money, don't do that, because first it takes time. The early days of creating a company is a roller coaster. For me, what's the success is it must be your own definition. don't look at the success like the definition of someone else. For me, it's around family. I'm fortunate. I've got four kids, 2 daughters, 2 boys. The elder one is a doctor in ER. She's got the life she wants.
Fantastic.
And having your children happy is the best success KPI. My second daughter, she's a nurse.
Fantastic.
That's what she wants. My boy is a student in a business school, so I hope he will discover the engineering. I gave him some math lessons when he was a kid.
Yeah,
I failed selling him. So I'm doing that to the next boy.
Okay.
Fantastic. But having his children and wife safe and healthy and happy, for me, that's the first KPI of business. KPI of success. Company wise. You have to be financially sound. That's a must, because if the financials are not okay in your business, then you have some sad moments, a lot of pressure. Today we're 90 people in the company, so I know most of the people because we're working on the same open space. So I'm hearing the stories. I see that I've got a responsibility not only for the 90 staff, but their families. Sometimes they are married, they have kids, or they have parents. So for me, it's big pressure. Particularly at the end of the month when we pay the salary, I'm thinking, wow, that's a big.
I'm just gonna touch on that point a little bit more, because again, it's something personal to me that plays on my mind. The big pressure of taking care of people, your employees and their families. How do you deal with that pressure? Because I think, a lot of good leaders will have that pressure. How do you handle that?
I think that's one of my strengths is to handle pressure quite well and to stay. There are some very stressful moments. I can't deny that, but I'm reacting pretty well under pressure. So I'm not panicking. I'm very analytic. That's my engineering background. So I think that's good quality to have when you're in a business, because no matter what, you are going to face some hard times, some challenges, and something you don't expect. Expect the not expected. So be ready all the time to react. Stay agile as much as you can. And the agility for me starts with OPEX versus CAPEX. So anything that I can do on a monthly basis, do it. You will stay agile. It's a bit easy for me to say, because I'm in the software industry. So apart from the salaries, they are not too much of cost. Cloud, telecom, and so on. They are monthly costs and so on. We don't have big capital expenditure to support. But that's a good way. I'm trying to stay agile as much as I can. All the tools we are using, they are cloud based. So, for instance, when we had this COVID crisis, moving to a work from home environment was a no-brainer. I mean, everyone had laptops and internet at home, so it was very easy to do. We're a paperless company; everything is on the cloud, so it was a no-brainer.
Fantastic. So stay calm, stay logical, and stay agile. Fantastic. And the final question is, what advice would you give out to others who kind of want to start out in your field, or who are in your field and maybe finding it challenging? How would you advise them to sort of move forward? So for me, the keep learning aspect of things is very important. I did my exec MBA just for that reason, because even after 15 years, I considered I still had a lot to learn. And there is something particularly interesting today on the internet. You've got everything, honestly speaking, and for free most of the time. So when we started to grow in the software industry, I typed B2B SaaS in Google and I started to find a lot of things. Okay, what are the KPIs that matter?
something about hiring salespeople, the best advice to hire salespeople, what compensation you should give them, what's the breakup compensation, fixed versus bonus, 60-40, 70-30 kind of things. I found this podcast I like very much from Jaco van der Koich. He's a master in B2B SaaS. I ordered all these books from the Amazon, and everything I needed to do was written on the book. Okay, so we started to follow that. Okay, we made our own tweak, but what I'm saying is that don't reinvent the wheels. Yeah. You have a better use of your time. And everything is already available on the internet. Listen at the podcast about old grumpy guy like me giving you advice how to start your business. Yeah. And know your figures. Okay. That's very important. I love numbers, so I'm pretty good in finance, financial planning. But there are certain things a founder needs to be deeply involved. I would advise the finance and the sales. These are super important. You can't leave the numbers, and you need to know your numbers. When you talk to investors, you need to understand if your model is working. If it's not working, it's better to leave it. But I mean, basic KPIs like customer acquisition cost, lifetime value, stuff like this. Keep an eye on the cash as well. The cash flow is super important. I mean, it sounds stupid, but how many companies are failing because they run out of cash? Oh, my revenue is super high. Okay, your collection? Oh, shit. Sorry. I didn't check my collection. So what's the meaning if you have high revenue but the people the customer are not paying? I mean, this is a bit obvious, but I mean, it's not because you are in the blockchain or VR or whatever that the fundamentals of the business have changed. It's all about the cash flow, how quick you can turn your cash and make profit on the product you are selling, and this product needs to give benefits and solve the pain points. It's all about the same. These are the basics. It has not changed in centuries. It will never change in centuries. So keep an eye on that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Renaud, for sharing your wisdom with us. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. And, I personally look forward to seeing how Ziwo grows over the years and, the contribution that you are making to your industry. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Izu.
Thank you. It's always challenging shaking between the mics. Thank you. That was amazing. Really appreciate it.